Thank God I choose Canada to migrate. Thank God I'm living in Canada and not in USA. You know why? Because I speak Spanish. And in Canada, always when I go to shopping or any place, I'm with my husband, with my daughter, and we speak Spanish. And nobody stopped to see us like, stop, don't speak Spanish. And in USA, I didn't feel the same. I visit USA a few times and I didn't feel the same. I didn't feel the same. People is not comfortable with you when you are speaking Spanish. So thank you, Canada.
I just want to say that I am so relaxed in Canada, so stress-free. Like, today was the day that I realized this feeling that I've had since I got here a couple of months ago, and it's that, like, I don't feel like I have to always look over my shoulder. I don't feel as though something could happen at any point in time, whether it's when I'm getting onto the train, whether it's walking around, at any given hour, walking home from a bar, whether it's going to the grocery store. Like, going to the grocery store, because of some of the incidents that have happened in America, and because I have predominantly lived in large cities, for some reason, that is one of the places that I always feel pretty stressed out. But not here, not here, especially not here in Montreal. And I think a lot of people who are outside of America do believe that there is a common occurrence of violent crimes that occurs, specifically with one certain item, a pew pew. And unfortunately in America, I think it is a pretty common occurrence, but it's something that, like, we just live with the knowledge of. But I've realized that since I got here, that is kind of the reason why I have not been as stressed or anxious. Like, I just don't expect any of that to happen. I don't think it could possibly happen here. It is so rare, in fact, that today, an incident occurred that I don't even think would make headline news. But there was an active pew pew thing happening in Montreal, and everybody in the vicinity got text messages, and everybody was told to, like, shelter in place, that this person was dangerous. And I really appreciate that. Like, I appreciate that system. Like, it is so important. It is so necessary. And it was taken seriously, whereas I don't think it would have been in the majority of large cities in America either. And it's just really sad. Like, I don't know what else to say about it, but it's, like, really, really sad. And I know I'm going back to the States in a little bit, but, like, I can already feel myself tensing up a little bit in preparation for that. And I don't want to be dramatic, but it is a very true thing that these things happen pretty commonly. And it is a testament to you all and to the safety of your country that it happens so rarely that these alerts that you got today were taken seriously, that it was all over the news, that people were getting updates. Like, it would be gone in a second in America. And that is, quite frankly, it's devastating. And there's nothing I can do about it, but just something I wanted to point out, because that difference is wild and stark.
I'm just gonna say the thing about immigrants in Canada that nobody has the courage to say. I'm so glad that y'all are here, and you're so welcome here. Most of my income comes from working unskilled labor jobs. And if I walk onto a job site and it's a bunch of African and Indian dudes, it's a huge relief for me. Because I know how that day is gonna go. We're all gonna be polite to one another and mind our own business. The two values that make this country great. In my little podunk town, there's a representative from almost every single corner of the world. What an amazing thing. I grew up in southern Alberta, and I remember what this place was like before there was a bunch of immigrants. Man, a bunch of rednecks hiding years of repressed rage under a thin veil of politeness. And I know, 'cause I was one of them. Have you noticed that? The anger was always there. The hatred was always there. It's just found a new target now, which happens to be immigrants. And I don't want to play. I'm not gonna play. I remember when I was a kid, we used to go to our neighbor's house to butcher cows. we would help them butcher, and then they would give us a sweet deal on all the meat. And I always hated doing it because it was just a bunch of people who were much older than me, so I couldn't really participate in the conversation. And all they talked about, I swear to God, was just how much they hated Indians. I mean indigenous people, not Indians. And even back then, I kind of remember thinking, like, are they in the room with us right now? And then I got older, and I got to meet actual Blackfoot people, and I learned that none of what those people were saying was true. But none of those old people that we butchered with knew that, because the Blackfoot people of that generation weren't allowed to go to the same schools. They were in residential schools. That sense of rage and disempowerment has always existed in our little redneck communities, and we just keep finding new targets to scapegoat it onto. You know what I mean? I didn't just come into this world to find a job. I'm sorry, but I don't care about jobs. I've been poor. I've been hungry. If that's my lot, I'll do it forever. I came here to be curious and to bear witness to beautiful things. I didn't come here to live in a pit of misdirected anger. And that anger made people in my communities where I grew up incapable of being politically effective. I'm serious, we all know this. Anytime a white person gets too involved in politics, it's kind of like, ooh, another one bites the dust. Because no matter what side they're on, you know it's just gonna be like so much anger and resentment and the will to punish, and they gotta prove people wrong and make their point and make other people feel small and stupid so that they can be right and smart. And I don't want to play. So if you're an immigrant and you're politically active and effective, more power to you. Most white people will never admit it, but we need help. We no longer have the tools to live peacefully with one another. And if you're a white person, why are you trusting people who are feeding your rage and making it stronger? What purpose is that actually serving? How does that benefit you in any way? Don't buy into the lies. Go outside, turn your phone off. Go talk to people. They're not scary. They're not. Don't get sold on this idea that there isn't enough for everyone. Because you're being sold an idea about yourself that you are impotent and lacking. And it's not true. You have so much. Why are you so mad about some viral video about something that an immigrant did, when you know what your uncles and your aunties and your family and your white neighbors do, and you still love them? Did you ever think about that? I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. Nobody here is perfect. And in general, we're all just really trying to get by. And what is so bad about that?
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, you're officially part of the family now. This is the place where we explore the stories, conversations, and the moments happening around the world. And today, we are putting the spotlight on a country that has a special way of making people feel at home. Guess the country? You're right. That's Canada. But before I share my thoughts, I want you to hear directly from the people who have experienced this feeling for themselves. We're going to watch a series of videos from people sharing their own experiences, perspectives, and stories about what makes Canada feel so safe, welcoming, and even special. So sit back, pay attention, and listen closely, because some of these stories might make you see Canada in a completely different way. Let's get into the videos and I'll meet you on the other side.
I moved to Canada alone when I was 17, and so twice a year I fly back to go visit my family, and the goodbyes before coming back to Canada with them just never get easier even after 11 years of doing this. And just within a couple of hours of landing back into Canada, I'm reminded why I chose Canada as my home away from home, and I just wanted to share. So yesterday I flew back to Canada after spending about a month with my family, and the goodbyes were pretty tough. I mean, it doesn't get easier with age. My parents are getting older. My siblings are building lives for themselves that I'm missing out on. But this time was especially hard because it's going to be a while until I see them again. So not the easiest goodbye, not the easiest return into Canada. I was not feeling my most happiest self, let's say, when I landed. And it's as if Canadians know, like it's as if they can feel it, because the first interaction that I had was with the immigration officer. And so I have permanent residence in Canada. And this may seem small, and I know they say it to everybody, but the first thing that the officer said to me was, "Welcome home." As somebody who has been fighting for their immigration status in Canada for 10 years, to just be told welcome home is really special, but also because I haven't lived in my home country in over 20 years. I've moved around a lot in my life, and I've never felt like I had a home away from home, so just solidifying the idea that Canada feels like home. And then he just took a quick glance at my immigration paper, saw that I'm originally from France, and was like, "Oh, were you visiting your family?" Just like, I don't know, it felt like a sweet touch, you know what I mean? So that was number one. Number two, we're waiting to exit the airport. There's a really long line, everyone's with their suitcase, and a man with a floral t-shirt and a hat approaches me, and he says, "Wow, they're just herding us out of here, right?" And just starts making small talk. And so anyways, we get to chatting, and he asks why I'm in Canada. And so I explained to him that I came to do my undergrad here, ended up staying for work. And he was the sweetest man, and he just ended the conversation by saying, "Thank you so much for being here and for picking Canada as the country that you wanted to be in. We need people like you. Like, I hope you stay a long time." And I was just like, it makes me so emotional, because I'm like, he has no idea that the last place I wanted to be was at the airport without my family. And here he is just like reminding me why Canada is such a wonderful place. I don't know, that interaction like lasted probably like 5 to 7 minutes, but it just meant a lot in that moment. And he had no idea. And then the last interaction that I had was, I'm pushing my suitcase down the hallway of my apartment building, and there's a woman who's walking down towards me at the end of the hall. And as she gets a little bit closer to me, she goes, "I hope you went somewhere fun." And so I'm like, "Oh, I went to Paris." She's like, "Oh my God, you just blew my mind just now." Like, she was just like so funny, so kind. Anyways, all that to say, 3 very simple interactions, and 3 interactions that Canadians watching are probably saying like, okay, those are just nice Canadians, like that's just how we are. But the thing is, I don't come from a country where those are the types of interactions that you have with strangers. On top of the fact that goodbye days are always hard days, on top of the fact that as an immigrant in a country, you're always questioning whether it's the right place for you or it's a place that feels like home, and you're often debating whether you should go back to maybe your like birthplace. And anytime that I question that on days where I'm a little bit sad after saying goodbye to my family, I just have to land in Canada within an hour. I'm reminded of why Canada feels like home. So I wanted to share, because if you're a Canadian and you're feeling some type of way about the state of the country, because I get a lot of those comments, just know that this is a pretty good place to be.
I love Canada because our upstairs neighbor is this like 50-year-old man, and instead of yelling it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, he actually said Happy Pride Month to us, or Happy Pride because it's Pride in Halifax right now, and then asked if we went to the parade. Like, he's just such a freaking gem of a person to have to know as a neighbor. Like, what a kind soul. I don't I've never had those kind of interactions with my neighbors in the United States. Canada's just different. I love it here.
As a non-Canadian living in Canada, there are so many unexpected things that I found comfort in, and here are a few of them. The first one is the feeling of going through immigration when landing in Canada. Now, you might be confused as to why. When I moved to Canada 10 years ago, I was on a student permit and then moved on to a work permit. And going through immigration, having those types of permit is a really stressful process. You need to make sure to have the right documentation. You get questioned a lot upon arrival. And last year, I finally got my permanent residence in Canada. And just the feeling of landing with your PR and being told like, welcome back to Canada, and just feeling like you belong and feeling like, okay, I'm finally a resident of this country that I've been living in for 10 years is such a comforting feeling. I can't explain it. Also, side note, but landing and going through the immigration process in Canada versus a country like the States is a world of difference. Canadian agents, I find, are so much friendlier and cause you way less stress than a country like the States. But anyways, that's a bracket. The second one is getting woken up by the sound of a snowplow truck. Again, a bit of a weird one, but this morning I was woken up because a snowplow truck was, I guess, like getting rid of the snow in front of my apartment building. And it's kind of like the sound of something scraping on cement, which again sounds really weird that I would find comfort in that. But I just knew that I would wake up in my cozy, warm apartment. I'm under my blankets, like super cozy, and I know that I'm about to step out of my bedroom and be like greeted by just a blanket of white snow on the streets. And there's something so charming about that I find a lot of comfort, and I don't even mind being woken up by that. Mind you, it was like 7:30 a.m. I feel like in France I would get woken up by like a garbage truck at 6 a.m. with like the beep beep beep, like backing into like a really small Paris streets. I'll take the snowplow any day. The third one is interacting with like middle-aged Canadian folks in grocery stores, Canadian Tires, things like that. I love a grocery store or any kind of big store where I can just stroll the aisles. And so this happens a lot. I'll be just reading something or reading a label and basically like staying still in an aisle, and somebody will be next to me and they'll be like, oh, you looking into buying so-and-so? And people are so easy to just have like quick little chats. And I think that I obviously miss my family a lot. I live here by myself. And so when I interact with people who are similar age to my parents, it just brings me comfort. And people are so kind. Just last week, I was looking at a rice cooker at Canadian Tire, and there was a mom who was saying that she had bought this rice cooker for her daughter and she really liked it. And so she was just advising me and telling me like, don't buy this one, it's so expensive for no reason, or make sure that it's made here, and so on and so forth. And I don't know, I just find that people are so kind and it brings me comfort. I almost feel, I don't know, I feel like sometimes Canadians are so friendly that I'm like, you could be my second pair of parents, you know? So yeah, those are three of the things that bring me a lot of comfort. There's so many more, but yeah, these are the ones that I love and I experience a lot.
Okay, it's official. I'm a permanent resident of Canada. Woo woo! Woo! We made it! The dogs are ready! Dewey says congratulations. Freddie! I'm Canadian permanent resident, bitches! And it's official! Canadian permanent resident.
I'll tell you something that Canadians do really well, and that is to celebrate other people's successes. I hit a milestone on social media. I hit 1 million followers on Instagram, 1 million followers on TikTok. I told some people in Canada, like, oh my God, that is crazy. Wow, that is amazing. Really happy for me. Brits are completely different. You tell a Brit that you've achieved something, they'll go, oh, I see you, well done. That's good, I guess. They'll move on very quickly because it feels like you're boasting, and Brits don't like to boast. Everything is downplayed. It's a weird mentality. It's something I've had to adjust to because I do that to myself. I downplay everything. But I like it though. I prefer this way. I prefer this more positive mindset because it's definitely having an effect on me. Something I was just thinking about right now.
I moved to Canada 7 years ago from Colombia, and to this day, I still think about the fact that the Canadians don't really know what danger is. I get there, I will get scared about homeless people here now because I've been here for so long. But back home, if you're Latin, you know that people back home can get a little crazy. And yes, there are specific areas when they can rob you and bad things can happen. And you just have to be alert, like 24/7. While here, I can let my guard down and I know I'm gonna be fine. Obviously, there are certain areas here that are dangerous or whatever. But I find crime here is more like target to specific people that are like gangs and stuff like that. Back home, it just is more random. And that's just the truth.
I've been in Canada for the past 10 days, and here are the very real things that I've noticed visiting from the States. Let's get straight into it. Number 1, the food quality. I'm not sure what the US is doing to the food, but I cannot touch gluten and dairy in the US, but in Canada I can eat it and I have no problems. If I eat the same food in the US, I get really sick for anywhere between 1 to 7 days. Number 2, everybody's nervous systems in Canada seems so much more regulated than in the US. Now, granted, it is winter, and I do think that people slow down a little bit more in the winter time, but I'm in the city right now and everybody seems pretty relaxed. Nobody's really in a rush. That being said, I'm going into number 3, happiness levels. Everybody seems happier in Canada. This could very well be linked to their nervous systems just being more regulated, but everybody seems friendlier. I've had people stop and talk to me in coffee shops. I had somebody stop me on the street when I was walking. And if you're just walking on the street and you pass someone and you guys make eye contact, people tend to say hi or smile. And that's just not what I've been experiencing in America for like the last 5 to 10 years. I think it's gotten worse over time. Moving on to number 4, I'm not really sure how to categorize this one, but for some reason, I've had multiple people apologize to me for being from America, and their reasoning behind it is because what their media is telling them in their countries is basically that we're way too divided. Now, I'm a pretty energetically sensitive person, so I pick up on a lot of things that aren't necessarily said, and I have to say that overall, people in Canada really do seem healthier than people in the US. And some of the other people that I met and I spoke with weren't even from Canada. They were just here on business and they seemed happier too. They weren't even from here. They were from like Belgium and Greece. But yeah, I just wanted to share that and see if anybody else has had any experience like this where they notice these things when they travel. All of these things make it very hard to go back.
Yeah, and here we are back. Now, after watching those videos, I think we can finally have the conversation. Because, did you notice something in those videos? Even though these people have different backgrounds and completely different experiences, they seem to be one feeling that keeps coming back. Canada makes people feel safe. And that's what I want to talk about today. Because let me say this, when you really think about it, feeling safe isn't just about security. It's about feeling comfortable enough to be yourself. And it's about knowing that when you need help, someone might actually stop. It's about arriving somewhere new that you've never been and realizing that maybe you don't have to face everything alone. And honestly, that's where Canada becomes so fascinating. After everything we have seen today, I think there's one thing we can all agree on. Canada isn't perfect. We all know that. No country is perfect. But there's something incredibly powerful about a place that can make people feel welcome, people feel respected, and safe enough to simple themselves, to solve things by themselves without anybody interrupting them. Because at the end of the day, People may forget the buildings they saw. They may forget the street they walked on. I mean, they may even forget the places they visited. But they will never, ever forget how a place made them feel. And if Canada can make someone feel less alone, more welcome, and a little more of home, then that's something worth celebrating. But now, I want to hear from you guys. What is it about Canada that makes you feel safe? That makes you feel welcomed? Or even that makes you feel at home? If you're Canadian, tell us what you think. And if you're never ever visited Canada, or even dreaming of visiting one day, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. Folks, let's keep this conversation going, because sometimes the best stories aren't told by the people on the screen. They're told by you. So folks, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification so you don't miss the next one. Until next time, folks, take care of yourselves, stay kind, and keep spreading that positive energy. I'll see you in the next video.